I'm Charles Bennett, and I'm going to read in a moment or two a poem from my latest book, Cloud River, called Pylons. And before I do that, I just wanted to say something about poetry. I think the first thing to say, which is something that particularly relates to poetry, but is actually, we can apply it to language anyway. When we write a word down, a written word is a captured sound. And that's the first thing we need to remember, that the signs that we make, what we call letters, the alphabet, the signs that we make are actually ways of capturing sounds and putting them together to make what we call a word. And some of those shapes were originally little pictures to help people remember not only what the word was about, but the sound relating to that word as well. So a word is a captured sound, and poetry, therefore, is a series of sounds linked together, like notes on a page of music. So the second thing to say then is that poetry is language singing, and a poem should have music in it. It should be made of musical language so that it should sound rather amazing, perhaps beautiful, but certainly it should have music in it. And because of the music in the way a poem sounds, quite often poetry has rhythm, and the rhythm and the sound of poetry together mean that it's slightly different from what we call prose. Poems are special things in some way. They're quite short, usually, in the current way of writing poetry. But of course, there are such things as quite long poems. Luckily, the poem I'm going to read today is really quite short. So the third thing I wanted to say about poetry is that I think it should also surprise us perhaps a little bit. It should surprise us by thinking about something in a new way, something obvious perhaps, and we thought, well, I never thought about it like that before, but now I've written this poem, I will always think of it that way. So it should help us remember how amazing the world is around us, perhaps, and it should help us see things in a different way, perhaps, as well. All of that element of surprise is actually part of what we call beauty, but we don't need to talk about that very much today. Now, the way that I like to use surprise in my poems is I like to give a voice to something that can't speak. So, in this poem about pylons carrying the electricity lines across the countryside, my poem gives a voice to the pylons. And so one pylon speaks on behalf of all of them. And the poem goes like this: Pylons. We are made from creased steel in a fold of iron origami. When it's hot, we droop our lines in a hammock of sag. In wind, we thrum and grumble. A clever pair of scissors cut us out, like a paper chain of triangles holding hands. Grown from a spark, we resemble the start of a forest, a single line of conifers rigged and braced. Like Christmas trees you forgot to take down, our catkin baubles dangle the danger of death. We like to watch the silver paper dart float a white power line across the sky. we have fallen in love with how lightning makes the sky shout in a dark voice. When it rains, we drizzle a length of static from one to the other. At night, we dream of a bird who hatches a bright egg in our sharp arms. So that's my poem, Pylon. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you write poetry, I hope you enjoy that too. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.